Okay, should be live.
Hi and good morning. I am so excited today. Today I have Miss Sherry and we are going to talk about long-term care. Okay, you may be like, Megan, why are you so excited about talking about long-term care? Because I've been waiting to meet somebody like this to really ask her the 5 million questions that are going on in my mind.
Well, we only have 30 minutes.
I know, but just for me, just for the people watching,
Yes.
this is such an important topic. At the end of the day, you getting to know
Yes.
at the end of the day, and you know, you actually having something to pass on to your children.
Yes, it's true.
So, my name is Megan Truick. As you know, we're here every fourth Wednesday to talk to you, to get your questions. And today we're going to be talking about long term care. And so, this is my guest. I'm going to allow her to talk to you, to introduce herself to you, because you can hear from just my voice how exciting I am and excited I am. And by the end of this session today, I think you will be too. Go ahead,
Yes.
Mr.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I've had the opportunity to chat with Megan a few times, and I really appreciate the fact that she creates and the firm creates an education first space,
Yes.
which is amazing. And a lot of times people feel concerned. So having advisors that people can chat with, like myself, it's just really exceptional because it just alleviates the worry. So my name is Sherry Wagner, and I work at New York Life, and we're able to offer a wide variety of solutions. The big key thing that's important is making sure that, just like you guys do, it's real important to ask real specific questions about someone's specific situation.
Yes.
And so this is just a really lovely space to get some good information, some basic questions answered. And from my perspective, people's personal stories are really crucial. I'll probably ground a lot of my conversation this morning in my experience with my mom.
Yes.
So my mom, for many years, I was like, Mom, you need to come live with me. I'm your favorite. You need to come live with me. She's got 5 children.
Of course, you're her favorite.
Listen, I was hoping that I would be. And I was very glad when I look back on how things went, that I had a conversation with her early.
Yes.
Because, well, she didn't have a whole lot of plans in place, really, to be honest. When it came time for her to realize that she needed some help, she knew that she could at least call me.
Yeah.
And then my siblings and I were able to work together. So as a family, we had conversations. And I feel like that's just a really crucial thing I wanted to share with everybody today. If people take nothing else away, it's the benefit and the power of talking as a family about what our future holds, trying to embrace reality, which is as we were born, right? We grew, we have amazing lives, and there's going to potentially be likely a time when we're going to need some help. And it's really important that as a family we work together on that.
Perfect. What I want to know exactly, and I'm sure they're asking, because people ask that all the time, what exactly is long-term care?
Yes. So like in my mom's case, one of the reasons why she called me is because she wasn't able to do some of the things that she would normally do on a daily basis. There's actually a pretty specific definition. They're called activities of daily living, and there's 6 of them. So when someone needs assistance with, and again, this is defined 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, then that's when that kind of triggers a need. So one example of an activity of daily living is like, when you get up in the morning. You get up in the morning, hopefully you don't snooze your alarm. I snooze my alarm all the time. But once I get past that,
never. No. That's not what I do.
But once I get past that, it's just like being able to stand up from your bed and walk.
Yes.
Right. Standing up. So transferring. When you get into the restroom, are you able to clean yourself? Can you go through like the toileting process? Are you able to then dress yourself? Can you feed yourself? Those are examples of those activities. And so when those activities start to become compromised,
yes,
you can, of course, that's when we might need help and assistance. So when you have what we call a long-term care event,
yes,
it can happen one time and then maybe you're okay. Sometimes people get in accidents, right? You get in an accident and you need help with all of those things. That could be an example of a long-term care event. For most people, it's when we're older. And so when you need assistance with those activities of daily living, then you have an opportunity to kind of consider, well, how am I going to get the assistance? So when you have something like long-term care insurance,
Yes.
when that activity is triggered, then you have the opportunity to draw on dollars that will then support and assist you with how you're going to get that assistance.
Because I was doing my Googling before I came here.
Yeah.
And if you look at the number of us who will be taking care of a loved one long term or lifetime, it is mind-boggling. 4 in 10 of us will have to make arrangements to take care of a loved one because they do not have long-term care coverage.
Yes.
And so in a situation like that, you're talking about people who will be losing employment. Some for the entire time while you're taking care of that person, your career takes a backseat. Many times your family takes a backseat. And so it's a lot that you're giving up. And if you as a parent, a loved one, can plan for that so that you are not compromising your child's, your niece's life, this is a big gift that you're giving. Because for many people, how exactly do they pay for long-term care? One way, they can pay out of pocket. And if you know the price of a regular private room in Houston, it's $5,700 per month.
Yeah.
And so you can see why families keep the people in place and take care of them in place, because many of them, $5,700 is a hard ask.
Yes.
So you can pay it for yourself. Many people, they have they're veterans, so then that can be covered for them because of the VA benefits. For some people, they have Medicare because they were in the hospital and then they get that 100-day stay in a facility. But this call today is important. This talk today is important because for all of those other people who didn't come straight from the hospital because of an emergency and get that 100-day stay in a long-term care facility, how do those people cope? And that's why we're here today. Thank you, Miss Sherry. I'm so excited. So let's dive into that. Think about it. How many people this week, they're going to be around the table with their loved ones, with grandma, with mom?
Yes.
What should they be looking for?
So I would say first and foremost, if someone's on the call, they should definitely for themselves say, is this something that I need to really be serious and consider?
Yeah. For yourself?
Yes. I mean, right?
Yes,
because it, like with any insurance solution out there are health qualifiers. And the younger that we are, the easier it is to qualify. And with long-term care insurance, there's a similar thing. Depending on the organization with whom you work, there are kind of screening questions. So, for example, if someone is already needing assistance and support, they're already needing someone to feed them. They're already needing someone to help transfer them. They're very likely not going to qualify for long-term care insurance.
Yes.
And there's other, financial solutions that you can look at. But that's why I would say for sure today for people to consider. And if you take nothing else away today, take action, investigate.
No procrastinating.
No, because it's not so much that you need to worry about it. You just want to take action and find out. So that would be one thing that's important. When you're thinking about the members of your family sitting around the table, again, I'm a big fan and a proponent of people having conversations and trying to figure out how to be open and honest about it. That can be very awkward for families. And I feel like the Thanksgiving table can be a challenge for lots of reasons.
We just had an election. So you're already on pins and needles.
That's right.
So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But when we're talking about those people we love, I mean, this is really about love and support and wanting to be there for people. So when you're looking at folks around you, are they having a hard time, like I said, with any of these activities? That's going to be really crucial. And then I would also say, just in terms of like the financial side of things, when we think about people being a burden, like my mother, she didn't want to be a burden, right? But one thing that I shared with her was,
it's more difficult. It's harder. It's more burdensome if I don't know what we're going to do, because I do feel like I have a responsibility.
Yes.
So to your point, when you think about, when you were talking about like, because you love someone, you care for them, you want to be upfront, you want to have this plan. I think also people should think about not burdening their family from an emotional perspective.
Yes.
Because as you pointed out, there are real financial implications.
Yes.
There are incredibly difficult emotional implications as well. And then physical implications, like with my mother, so when I'm thinking about, my mom, I'm a big person, she's a small person. When I thought about, can I help lift my mom? The answer was yes.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking at the folks in your family and the people sitting around your table, will you be able to actually do the care? Because that's the other thing that I think is really crucial for people to consider. If you can, like you said, avoid being the actual caregiver, but instead you can be a care supervisor.
Yes.
That's an ideal scenario.
Yes.
Because then, like in my case, I actually still worked full time and also took care of my mother. And it wasn't until I understood that help was out there. I didn't even think to ask if there was going to be any help out there for me. So once I realized that, then I'm like, oh, we can hire someone in. Well, then we had the financial conversation. How are we going to pay for that? How much can we afford? Fortunately, my mom initially was okay. Later stages, it became much more expensive. That was a very difficult thing to do. So I think the other thing to consider when you're talking with your family, if you don't want to self-fund, what are the financial options for you? What are the financial options for you? So I certainly won't give anyone any specific advice right now in terms of like do X, Y, and Z or get into this, that, or the other product. But it is important to consider the financial implications if you, for example, have, like you said, maybe $5,700 a month here in Texas, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times people will live longer than you think. So you should maybe consider 2 or 3 years of that. Friend, do you know how much that is? I know you do. It can be upwards of $300,000.
Exactly.
And Texas is one of the least expensive states for it. So if any of our friends here are from other states, I feel like they should really consider. So imagine, right?
Yes.
You've saved all your life. You've blood, sweat, and tears. You've had a small business. You've scrimped away. You've been putting money. You've been investing. You've been retiring. Doing all of the things, right? And you have dollars that you want to leave for your family.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, I'm going to have $300,000 that I gotta
spend.
Someone asked a question.
Oh.
And as usual, guys, you know that this is for you. I know that I'm just consuming this conversation this morning, but yes, this is for you. You can see in the comment section, you can put your questions down there. Thank you very much. We already have questions coming in, and we will answer your questions live on air. So let's get the question.
So the question was, for long-term care insurance for a parent, for example, would the parent be the policy holder, meaning the health and qualification standards to consider need to be that of the parent?
Okay, so we have a question. Somebody wrote in, and you can do so. Please put it on your comment section below. Who is actually the policy holder when they purchase this long-term care policy?
Yeah, one thing to consider, and I'm glad they're asking these questions. There is someone who owns a policy. There's someone who pays for a policy. There's an insured of the policy. And then there can be other beneficiaries depending on the type of policy that you have. For example, if there is also a death benefit associated with it, there you can have beneficiaries. So there can be someone who, like, say, for example, a child, an adult child may want to buy a policy, but their parent is the one who is insured. And at that point, it's the parent whose health qualifications would need to be considered. Because imagine from just insurance in general, you're trying to assess risk.
Yes.
It's a risk assessment.
So is this an asset of the person purchasing the policy, or is this an asset of the person being insured? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it's the insured. It's focused on the individual who's insured, because then dollars are associated with that person and their process and or life or death, depending on what it is.
Okay, so what's the ideal condition? When should we be thinking about purchasing long-term care? Who is long-term care for? And answer those two questions, because I have a million of those in my head.
So there are solutions out there that are dividend bearing and can actually grow from a cash perspective. So the amount of the policy can grow, the benefit can grow. So a very financially efficient solution is to start earlier if you can.
Okay.
Like 30s would be great, 40s better. Or no, 30s better, 40s okay.
For people like me who is not in our 30s anymore.
Fair enough.
What should we be looking at?
Listen, start as soon as you can if you want to get it, right? Again, because there are health qualifications, and also you can it can actually be more financially efficient. End up being less expensive later.
Okay.
So that's really helpful. And then, sorry, the second question was
what kind of products are there? So what time should we be looking? What should we be looking at?
Looking for. So there are some solutions that are kind of similar to healthcare in that it's like a kind of a copay situation.
Okay.
Those are typically less expensive. Not something that I would immediately recommend for someone because like any kind of insurance solution, you can pull different levers to help people with their budget. So that's one thing also for people to realize. It's not too expensive because you can pull levers and you can adjust for people. So while there is kind of a copay scenario, I try to go to sort of the next step, which would be no copay scenario, which so you're really trying to protect all of your dollars, all of your assets. And in that case, you want to look for, think about, then there's actually, if there's a cost calculation tool, right? So someone can put in their state and they can figure out like, hey, for me, about what would the dollars be? You can then say, okay, if I need to get this amount of coverage, therefore what my premiums be? And then you can adjust from there. Maybe I have a little bit less coverage if I need something that's less expensive. There are other riders or benefits that you can add to a policy. So for example, if someone were going to start kind of early, we want to account for inflation, for example. So you would start with a lower premium and then it could potentially grow. So that's an example of something maybe to add on to a policy. And then there are other financial efficiencies that you can include on policies. One of the things that you also may look for is, will the company actually help someone with a care plan? So once you have an event triggered, sometimes we don't know what to do. Imagine you're in a scenario where it's your parent or it's yourself. I'm not really sure how to go about this. I know that I have this insurance and that's amazing, but like, who do I call? What's my next step? If the company that you're working with has someone that can actually pick up the phone and say, oh, you're having this situation. Well, where are you? What kind of services do you need? Do you want it to be in the house? Do you want it to be at a facility? Do you want to move into a facility? They can help navigate those things. So if you can work with a company that actually can help you find out what those next steps are to take once you have an event, that's actually also really helpful.
All right. For people listening, let's do a little bit of definition for them. What's the care plan?
So a care plan would be where you actually want to have the care. And if you want, for example, and hopefully many of us have the opportunity to stay at home, right? Because then it's the comfort of your home and you don't have to worry about, all the attendant logistics. Then it's like, well, how many hours a day? What kind of care do you need? Do you need someone that will help you with bathroom activities? Do you need someone that will clean? Do you need someone that will come in and feed you? Do you need someone, you just need someone to kind of like come visit with you. You just need someone to check in with you. So depending on what your needs are at the time would kind of determine the scope of that plan. And then when they're looking at resources or individuals to come in and help, you also may need equipment.
Okay.
The other thing that actually is kind of a really lovely benefit, depending on the solution and the company with whom you work, you can actually pay a family member to provide that care. So I think you mentioned at the beginning, maybe a niece or a nephew or a grandchild. It can't be your partner, unfortunately, right? But it can be another family member. And so sometimes that can be a comfortable situation. I will also ask everyone to consider, though, a toileting activity, just to be frank.
Yes.
You may not want a family member to assist you with that. So when you do think about if someone's considering right now, I don't need this. I'm not going to need this. I have a family member that's going to take care of me. It's all good. Yeah. You want to think about all of the ways that you need care. Yeah. And that's when you might actually need someone to come in and help.
I can see how that may be uncomfortable. Yeah.
It can be awkward. I mean, we love our family members, but there sometimes needs to be boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so significant, especially when you're really thinking about the cost of care and having the insurance versus not. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because we know $5,700 out of pocket, and that's not even considering when you have to buy your health insurance on top of that, when you have to be buying supplies on top of that. So the $5,700 is just the minimum. what exactly is the savings, or if you should say to anybody, this is why you buy long-term care. Speak a little about that.
Yeah. So again, depending on the type of policy you might get and how robust you want it to be and how much you want it to cover, if you just think about financial efficiency. So remember as a kid, or I don't know if this happened to you, everyone had a piggy bank.
Yes.
Mine actually was a frog. It wasn't a pig. But that's okay. So I had a froggy bank, and in there you would put money, right? Every time you got a quarter, a dime, a nickel, whatever, you'd put money in there. So I'm saving penny for penny, dollar for dollar. And the money's not going anywhere. It's staying in the froggy bank. That's a different scenario than if you put money into a solution whose intention, and certainly insurance solutions are like this, whose intention is to create, it's more about more financial efficiency. You want those dollars to not just be penny per penny. You want those dollars to actually grow and do something more for you. So that's when I mentioned financial efficiency, that's what I'm talking about. Because the self-fund is, you have $300,000 in your bank or an asset, or you sell your house, or you sell your car in your house, or you get a second mortgage, or you draw down from your 401k, 300,000. Like, how much money are you expecting to save that you will have saved? And if you draw down dollar for dollar, not efficient.
Yes.
We want to try to do something that's more efficient. So the efficiency piece is really crucial. Whether it's if you can't qualify from a health perspective, you can definitely get on a savings track to make sure you have dollars available and set aside for that. Many opportunities and options for that. Otherwise, the insurance solution, very efficient, because ultimately what happens is you may pay $40,000 or $50,000 in premiums over a certain period of time. If you start on a policy and you actually need it before you've paid in all the premiums, right, that were intended, you'll still get coverage. So there's some kind of there's protection when it comes to insurance, right? Like when you have a phone, as soon as you have insurance on your phone, you may drop it and it's dead right there. You're like, listen, it was yesterday, but you got to pay up because I have insurance on it. That's the same idea when it comes to long-term care. So there is a lot of efficiency. There's a lot of peace of mind that comes with that. And so then imagine if you're putting in $40,000 or even less, depending on when you start. It could be much less expensive if you start earlier. Then you get, you put in $30,000, $40,000, you get out 300. It could potentially cost $500,000 where you are. If you think about put in 30 and you get out 500, that is wildly more
the return.
Efficient.
I like the return on that.
Yes, it's amazing. And the other thing I would share is that when we're talking about financial efficiency, there's actually something that people may have right now in their pocket that could help them pay for this.
Okay.
If someone has a high deductible health plan, depending on the solution, et cetera, you have a high deductible health plan that also has a health savings account.
Yes.
The health savings account dollars can be used to pay for long-term care premiums.
Wow.
So that's just something for people to keep in mind. So if you're thinking about
I did not know that. Thank you for that.
Yes. Well, if you're thinking about here's my budget, it's one of the things that we do, and we're talking about, financial efficiency and helping people plan for the future. We want to, if there's any way for you not to have to add extra money to your budget, and we're just taking dollars that you have over here and we're potentially utilizing them over here, so there's no impact to your monthly budget, that's ideal. It just is moving money from one pocket to the other, but it's creating more efficiency.
Because I know of people with those HSA plans who at the end of the year are busy in CVS buying vitamins and stuff. What a wonderful way to spend that money. Actually, not me. Those other people.
That's actually a flexible spending account, a little bit different.
Okay, that's why she's here today. Talk a little bit more about that for novices like me who have no idea what that looks like.
Yeah. So for using the health savings account to pay, people that have health savings accounts are aware it's a card. You get a card, and you're contributing dollars to that.
Gotcha.
A wonderful thing about a health savings account is that it has an investment side too. So you're putting dollars in, you can peel money away and make the money grow more efficiently, like I talked about. The purpose of the health savings account is to use it for qualified health expenses, for medications, potentially even for equipment. And the fact that long-term care is a part of that is a huge benefit for people. So as you're putting dollars in to use, right, You can use them for go to the CVS.
You just
or whatever.
blew my mind.
But yeah,
Thank you.
It's just a card. It's like a number. Like here's the number on my card. I'm going to pay from this card.
Are these funds usually before taxes, even when you get paid like that?
The tax situation, there could be, depending on what someone's situation is, there could be some tax efficiencies, but we would need to be a conversation to really understand.
Perfect.
And certainly as we're advisors, you can also of course talk to a CPA who would have those details.
So just for clarity's sake, I do estate planning, estate planning, probate, and guardianship, and that's why we have people like Miss Sherry come on here so that we can both learn, we can both get the ammunition that we need so that we're actually not depleting our assets when we are in retirement age or in need of long-term care. Because I know a lot of people who come to me for acute planning because a life event happened and they need to make sure that they qualify for Medicaid or they qualify for X thing because they have this acute need, and in order to qualify to get some kind of care at all, they have to first become poor. They have to first become poor on paper. But think about how wonderful it is if you have long-term care, if you reach out to somebody like Miss Sherry, get that in place so that your family doesn't have to, while they're visiting you at the ER, worrying about how you're going to get taken care of when you're home. They can actually concentrate on the care of you instead of worrying about how to pay for you, because now you're a burden to them. I never want to be a burden to my children.
Yes. And I think you had mentioned this earlier, but the notion of like the planning beforehand and how if someone is listening to this, you're like, how likely am I for this to happen to me? How likely is it? I'm healthy. I run all the time. I eat very well. I take my vitamins. Like I'm doing all the right things, right? I drink a lot of water. The reality is that we will get frail.
You know what?
It's going to happen. It's literally 70% of people over 65, I think is the latest stat that I saw. 70% of people over 65 will need some kind of assistance. So to piggyback off of what you said, let's not wait. Please don't wait.
And let's not be in denial.
Yes.
Because if somebody said to me, there's a 7 out of 10 chance when you cross this road, you're going to get hit by a bus. I don't know if I would want to cross the road. So we have some questions. Go ahead.
First one, my HSA will not roll over and she has to use all of it each year or she'll lose it. Is there something that she can do?
So I want to be clear. The HSA will roll over. A health savings account is intended to roll over. It's the flexible spending account, the FSA, that will not. So if someone has, I have an HSA. I mean, again, always talk to your health insurance provider and your company. If that's if you have this through your company, talk to your HR benefits coordinator. But it's the FSA, those dollars, the flexible spending account, that need to be used.
Can you use those dollars for whatever?
I don't.
Because I would love to have a second.
I will promise to fill you in when people have that question for you. But I feel like the answer is probably no. I think it's just the HSA.
That would have been so wonderful.
Yes, no kidding. No kidding. Because then people could use those dollars instead of like what I did, which was like buy a blood pressure cup and a thermometer or something. I don't know what I needed.
And 5 million vitamins. Chewing vitamins and emergency and stuff like that. But what's the second question?
The second one is, how do I get a power of authority over my son who has a disability?
Okay. Well, this one is not a long-term care question, but since this presentation is all about you, so how do you get a power of attorney for your child? And if you have a child that has a disability that you know will need long-term care, because unless you're going to be living forever, that's somebody that Miss Sherry, is that somebody that we can look to be trying to get long-term care for somebody with a disability? Would they qualify for long-term care?
That is an interesting question, because we're looking at someone needing assistance with like transferring, toileting, feeding, etc. Depends on what the disability is. I'm gonna be conservative and maybe you definitely have a conversation first, talk to a professional, go through the process. But if you're already needing assistance with those things, you probably wouldn't qualify, because it's a different thing. It's more about it's not about life and death. It's more about how you
living.
Yeah.
Living. So now I'm going to answer your second question about your child that's needing power of attorney. For one, if your child is not competent to make decisions, then you can't get a power of attorney for that child. You'll need a guardianship. And for that, you have to apply to the probate court to be the guardian of that child's person or estate if they actually have an estate. And then you'd have to go through the qualifications, and then you can get guardianship over that child and not a power of attorney. But if your child is just disabled in another way, they're competent, they're capable of making their own decisions, then yes, you can reach out to our firm here at the Law Office of Brian Fagan. We do powers of attorney every day for people. We can do that for that child. If they're 18, we can do that power of attorney for them to get you to be able to make those medical or financial decision for that child.
I did want to also offer, if the person who asked the question wasn't aware, people are probably familiar with college savings accounts, the 529 plans.
529 plans, yes.
There's lots of other ways to save for college as well, just an FYI for people to understand. But the 529 actually has a sister policy, or sister account, I should say, and it's the 529 ABLE account. And this is specifically for those who are disabled. So if they're not aware of that, that could actually be something that might be of assistance for them to consider.
And an ABLE account, anybody can contribute to an ABLE account. And that's an account that doesn't get counted for Medicaid purposes. So it's a wonderful way to provide extra cushion for your special needs child. It has to be a special needs person that's actually diagnosed disabled. And they can get that account. The monies in that account is not counted for Medicaid purposes. So just think about how much you can improve that child's life. And of course, the ABLE account, they have to have that disability before the age 26. So it's not for newly disabled person. It's somebody who has had that disability before that time. But it's a wonderful way. Yes, it's a wonderful day to give them.
He's not competent to make decisions.
Okay. So if thank you for that. This person is saying a power of attorney for someone not competent to make decisions. The only option would be a guardianship, and that would be.
Does he have to be 18 before they can do the power of attorney?
Well, a power of attorney, you cannot. Parents are natural guardians of their children. And so this person is asking, does the child have to be 18 before you can get a power of attorney? Yes, because the person has to be able to contract. Parents are natural guardians of their children. So if they're less than 18, you can't get a power of attorney for anyone that can't contract. And so no, somebody under 18 can't give you a power of attorney. However, a parent can give you power of attorney. If the child is above 18 and they are incapable of making decisions, the only route is guardianship. Okay. Thank you guys for the question. This is about you. You're in the right place. You're in a safe place. And so you can ask any questions, any question that you want, put it in the comment section. We're here for you. We are at the end, however, but as I'm saying, we're here. We do monitor this message board, so you can come back, watch the video, put your comment in. You can reach out to us. We're at www.brianfagan.com/estate planning. You can send us an email. You can pick the phone up and call us. We're here for you 24/7. You can reach out to us 24/7. But the reason we're here today is for Miss Sherry. Miss Sherry, how can we reach you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook. So if someone is on Facebook, they can just look for my name, Sherry Wagner, and type in New York Life. You'll find me. You can do that also on Google. My email address, clwagner@ft@frankthomas.newyorklife.com. And of course, please feel free to call me at any point, 713-444-6491. And then
one more time, a little slower, because I want them to reach you.
Yes. My phone number is 713-444-6491. And then, of course, if none of that works and the Google doesn't work, please reach out to Megan, and I'm sure she would put me in contact with you.
Thank you, Miss Sherry.
Yes.
What a wonderful talk today. I hope you found value in the conversation today. Keep the questions coming. We're here for you.
Talk to your families, take action. We're here for you.
Yes, please do. Please do. Do not procrastinate. This is very important. Thank you again, Sherry.
Yes, happy to be here.